This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello.
Josh, I miss you.
I miss you too.
I want to tell you right off the bat that I am coming home Friday night, early Saturday morning. So I'll be there, by late Saturday. It's like a 15-hour drive.
Oh my gosh. And you have the pups with you.
Yeah, I do. I do. It's crazy. Anyway, and it's hard too because it was so hot down here last time. Like I couldn't stop and run in to do anything because it was too hot. I couldn't leave them in the car.
Yeah.
So it's just like a, stop for gas and keep going. But anyway, I'm coming home and I'll be there Saturday early evening, I guess. I'm going to leave here about 3 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a time change. So that means 4 in the morning for you.
Okay.
So probably about 8 o'clock, 9, something like that.
Okay.
10. Depends on if there's a lot of traffic. So, I did it again. I forgot we're doing a podcast. Because talking to you on the phone is just me talking to you on the phone.
Yeah.
So, it's just weird. Anyway, I am down here. For anybody that hasn't listened, I'm down here taking care of my mom and dad because Dad had shoulder surgery and Mom is not up to doing things on her own. She's been very, very sick the whole year, and just helping him out. At any rate, before I came down here, we had a meeting with one of your doctors, the medication for medication management, and she changed your medication, excuse me, that you've been on for ADD.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that to see how you're doing. If you think it's making a difference. So let me just say this first. You had been on Adderall for many, many years.
Yeah.
So how long do you think you were on that?
2 decades?
Yeah, probably.
Because, we moved to Pennsylvania in 98 or so?
Yeah, ended 97.
Into 97. And I started the medication shortly thereafter.
Sure, I would say, yeah, you're probably right. Probably like within a couple of years you were on that. They started with other things. They started with Abilify and, Risperdal and Depakote.
Yeah.
They started with those, and then they eventually got to helping the issues that you have with ADD. Well, what happened was we then just had the gene therapy done for you, and what that showed is that the Adderall was not helpful, and it could not achieve a therapeutic level because your body did not absorb it the way that it needed to.
Right.
And essentially that's why we did the gene testing, so that to know what would work and what wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's been going on since this was changed?
Well,
now a couple weeks in.
Well, one thing is that I'm actually doing a lot better. I'm much happier. I'm thinking further ahead again.
Okay.
Which I hadn't been doing since before we moved from Pennsylvania.
Right. So we're talking at least 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And the way that I would describe that is that you were not self-regulating now for probably 7-8 years. And the happy part, it's really hard to tell because the happy part is you did just go through specialized therapy for depression. Your medication for depression changed. And so the happy part could be, contributed to that, but at the same time, this new ADD medicine is really to help you to function on a daily basis to get things done, to stay on track, and to essentially, it's called self-regulating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked that up because I thought that you'd want to hear what that is exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is what it says. Self-regulation can be defined in various ways. The most basic sense, it involves controlling one's behavior, emotions, and thoughts in the pursuit of long-term goals. More specifically, emotional self-regulation refers to the ability to manage disruptive emotions and impulses. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like what you experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the medication that you were on just wasn't working. And it took the medication specialist to make a difference.
Yeah.
And
that's not to say that the other doctors didn't help. Because
the other doctors, yes, go ahead.
The other doctors did not have access to that gene testing that pointed out which was the strong suits and which ones were not. They had to go by the statistics. So
Right.
it's not to say that they were inept or anything at all like that.
Correct. What happens sometimes is Western-trained doctors have a certain area of expertise. They can look at treatments, they can diagnose, and then they can treat. Well, then that's kind of it. And so then they are limited by the medication that's available. And so that's what had happened. You had been on medication, and at one point, I feel probably it helped, but, certainly didn't for, getting close to the last decade. But with the gene therapy, that's kind of what sealed it, is that, yeah, clearly this is what it's not working because you don't absorb it. You're not metabolizing it the way that you need to get it to be at a therapeutic level.
Right.
Well, what happens with the difference is, though, I look at it like there's Western medicine and there's Eastern medicine. In Eastern medicine, they look at the root cause of something. In Western medicine, a lot of times they look at symptoms. Eastern cultures, they look at the root cause of something, not the symptoms are kind of like a map to get back to the root cause. Well, this doctor kind of did something in between, because she went deeper than just, this is what, you're telling me, or this is your diagnosis, therefore this is the list of medication. She wanted to know all about your behaviors, all about what works and what doesn't work, how you feel, how you don't feel, what you can manage, what you can't manage, and when you can manage it, if you can manage it. A lot. And so what her recommendation was that you get off of Adderall, and she put you on a new medicine called Vyvanse. It's spelled Vyvance. I'm spelling that for people listening.
Could you spell it one more time?
V-Y...
V or Z?
V as in victory.
Okay.
Vyvanse.
Are they both V's?
And, yes.
Okay. Because it's difficult to tell whenever you're on the phone which one you're saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's a prescription medication that treats attention deficit and hyperactive disorder in patients 6 years and above, and moderate to severe binge eating disorder in adults.
Is that why I haven't been eating as much?
That's pretty cool. If you haven't been eating very much, maybe that's why. I don't ever think that you binge eat. Like you
right.
eat. You don't, it's not like you're in there
gorging myself, yeah.
Right. So anyway, and also we said this some times before, but I want to make it clear that we are not advocating this medication over another one. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I would never suggest something. I'm just saying that what it looks like for you in your situation is that this medication has really begun to help already, and it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting because sometimes going down this path of the new medication. It is interesting because they don't carry this at the facilities that we use. It's ordered, and we use something called Express Script, and it just showed up in the mail and with a bill, and and for us, I know I always try to give the full disclosure. The medication for us costs $60 for 1 month.
Yeah.
I don't know what other. I'm having a hard time finding out. I don't know if insurance paid already. I don't know if insurance paid and that's our balance. I don't know. I've tried to call them many times and I can't get through. So as far as this Express Scripts, I'm kind of on the fence on whether I like that or not because I'm trying to get some answers and
Right.
I'm not getting any.
Right.
So that's kind of frustrating to me. I mean, I'm ready to pay them, and just want to make sure that I'm paying the right amount. So anyway, okay. So there's the deal. You're on Vyvanse for ADD. It's making some improvements. So tell me what has changed.
So one thing that is a huge, huge thing is that I have not been focusing as much, or let me rephrase that. I have not just been focusing on the here and now. I've been actually thinking about things way ahead in the future.
Let me pull the phone away first. There we go.
Was that the pup?
No, that was me. That was me going, woohoo!
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we waited. I sounded like a pup. They howl. I was woohooing.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to tell.
Oh, okay. I just didn't want to hurt your ears. I was woohooing. They howl. So yeah, this is a long time coming because this has been a major issue.
Yes.
For you in life.
Yes.
So thinking ahead means what? What's happening?
Well, as a perfect example, your birthday is in October.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on a present for you. and it's what, the first third of August?
Right. Today is it's the 11th, August 11th today.
Okay.
So what is it?
No, I'm not telling you.
You should.
Well, you'll see it when you see it.
Can you give me a hint?
Maybe.
Is it big? Is it little? Do I wear it? Do I smell it? Do I see it? Do I look at it?
I kind of missed two of those things, but...
You're not going to tell me, are you? I'm excited about it. So you're not going to tell me, but that's kind of torture. But that's really cool that you're thinking ahead.
Yeah.
I will say that your entire life, you're the most thoughtful person that I've ever met when it comes to giving gifts to someone. You have the ability of thinking about and coming up with things that will touch somebody's heart. And it's just incredible. And you've always done that.
Mm-hmm.
You've always done that. So I'm real excited about it. So.
Well, here, you want a hint?
Okay.
This will touch your chakra heart.
My chakra heart. Oh, what is it? What is it? Is it to the picture? To oh, let's see. It's either it could be crystals, it could be oils, it could be um, artwork. It's the mandala for the heart chakra.
Is the what?
It could be a mandala. It's an artwork, a design that
okay.
resonates with certain frequencies that are connected to the heart.
Okay.
But seriously, like when you talk about my heart chakra, I don't know that there could be anything better than hearing that you're doing better. Like that, to me, that's the epitome. That's how can you do better than that? You know, for me to hear that, because what's happening is it's not just that you're remembering some things, because you not remembering things, you having to be prompted and redirected every day has affected your self-esteem.
It has, which leads me to the second good thing that's happened with this medicine and all this change and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that I am... Well, the first thing was that I'm thinking ahead more. The second thing is that I'm actually thinking about things that I need to do. Like, they're occurring to me more so than prior to the change of medicine.
Do you mean like clearing the dishwasher?
Yes, things like chores, things like like wanting to go for a walk.
Okay. Wow. Yes.
Yeah, different things like that, and those things are things that I'm thinking of doing.
Wow.
Now, there's still sometimes an issue of my wanting to do something and me actually doing it.
Okay.
So
explain that. Explain that.
So I still have my time frame of doing things. Like a perfect example of that is that yesterday I was thinking of all these different things I needed to do, and I was prepped and ready to do them, and I did some of them, and then today, not so much. I mean, I think about them, I know I need to do them, but getting them in order and having things ready and done in time for us doing the podcast, for example, just didn't happen. I thought about them, but it didn't happen in the time frame that Dad would have liked me to.
Okay.
So it's still in my time frame of doing things, which doesn't always align with yours and Dad's. And so one thing that I think is helpful is whenever I do get that prompting to do something. And that's something that you've been doing for so long that I think it's almost second nature for you to do it at this point. But it's one of those things that really does help me, is the prompting and redirecting. So luckily it doesn't seem like it's going to be needed as much as prior to the medication change.
Ah, fantastic. Oh my gosh. And you know, when you just said doing things in your time, you know, not necessarily in my time or Dad's time, I think that's just people in general. I mean, even, you know, without any diagnosis, that would still happen. You know, because everybody does things their own way. and in their own time. And, like, here's an example. Some people will, when they get dressed, they put both socks on first and then both shoes. Some people put a sock on, then a shoe on, then the other sock on, then a shoe on. Right? So what my point is that people just naturally,
do things in
find
their
what
own
works
steps.
for them. Yeah. Well, just their own kind of patterns.
Their own cadence.
What?
Their own cadence.
Correct. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the big deal here is that the occurrence of thinking about things that need to be done is happening more often.
Yes.
Okay. And you need prompting and directing, you feel like, but it sounds to me, because we've been talking, and I talked to Dad, and, I haven't seen you for about a week and a half, but, we talk. I hear what's going on there with you. And what I can tell is that the big difference, too, is that what you had struggled with in the past is the follow-through on just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that you were intentionally disregarding what you were asked to do, or fluffing off your responsibilities. It was really that you could not hold a thought or a focus long enough to get anything done.
Especially if there was something that would sidetrack me, such as something else I needed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so in the everyday, the everyday behavior that's been improved, we're talking about you accomplishing something. What does it relieve for you otherwise? Like, how does it feel for you? So we've talked about the action that, it seems like this medication has helped you to gain focus.
Yeah.
Tell me how that feels to you.
Let's see. It, I'm not sure how to explain it.
Okay.
Can you try asking it in a different way or something?
Sure. So, when you realize that something needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
and that comes into your awareness, how does that feel different than when nothing was happening? And you might not even be able to answer that question. I'm just wondering, I'm going to follow up with asking you about how that makes you feel emotionally after the fact. But when you were not focusing before this medication change, when you were not able to focus, there was just nothing happening, right?
Are you talking about in my head, or?
Yes, yeah, in your head.
There was so much going on in my head, it was ridiculous, so I couldn't hold on to a single thought.
So it's not that it was just void, it was overload.
Yeah. And not only that, whenever I would not accomplish something, I'd beat myself up for it.
Right.
Not physically, but I mean...
Well, sure. And I can attest to that because I could physically see that if you had been asked to do something, and then later on in the day it wasn't done, and you were asked again to do it, you sometimes would look defeated. You would sometimes get kind of angry. There have been times when I took that to mean that you were being a jerk. Like, I'll admit that. Like, sometimes it felt like, dude, you were asked to do something and you didn't do it again.
Yeah.
And so it was very frustrating. But the reality is that it's not that you chose to not do something. You really lost that somewhere along the intention, the prompting.
Yeah.
And then it was your intention, and then it
Got
kind
lost.
of evaporated.
Yeah.
It got lost. And I could see that. I could see that. And I've said this before many, many times, that raising you has been kind of like a walking a fine line, in that it was a difficult task growing up, and it has been, and to this day, what behaviors are by choice and what behaviors are indicative of your diagnoses, whether it's autism, depression, anxiety, ADD, OCD. That has been a difficult line for me to walk. Raising you, there were times that I held you accountable for something that you did or didn't do, and then I could see on your face that you really did not have control over what just happened.
Yeah.
And then I would hold back from pushing you the next time, because it's in the forefront of my mind that, man, I just saw that I pushed you for something that you could not do, and I got upset with you for something you could not do. And so then I would back off, and then I would hear from other people, why do you let him get away with that? You're not making him do that. I'm like, mind your own business.
Well, you know what you just made me think of?
What?
You made me think of whenever you were saying that you walk that fine line,
Yeah.
and then describing the different difficulties that you have. Not just with me, but with other people pointing out issues.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of someone trying to follow a straight line, straight through a lion's den.
Oh.
where they're constantly trying to get at you.
Well, that's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah. And
Yes,
all it does is make me so thankful for everything you do all the more.
Oh, well, I love you. We're in this together. I love you, and people have asked me before, did I wish that you didn't have autism? I'm like, some days absolutely yes. When I'm exhausted and when I just can't take anymore.
Yeah.
Times you growing up when I would just cry myself to sleep because I was just so overwhelmed. But it's like you just described that, it's not just doing my best to raise you. It was dealing with all of those outside voices that were opinionated and condescending and judgmental and, had no idea what they were talking about. And, honestly, I had no idea what I was doing half the time. I just did what I thought would be best for you.
Yeah.
And best for your sister. But those people judging what they don't know is,
almost
very,
universal.
very. Yeah, it's not cool.
Yeah.
It's not cool. But also, people trying to tell me what to do, and Dad is the first one to tell you that he would say.
You don't ever tell anyone, and you don't ever put up with someone telling you what to do.
Well, Dad said, like, if there's a line that says, like describing me, it would be, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So, the difficult part is that there, if I can say this, I'll try again. There have been behaviors that I don't understand. I didn't understand. I have a better understanding of them now.
Mm-hmm.
But when you were growing up, I was younger. I was probably just because, being younger was less secure. And, but still had that aspect of who I am. Like, don't tell me what to do. It's not going to work. And just trying to help you to be okay, and I couldn't do it. There were times where I could not help you to be okay, and that's the hard part when it comes to autism.
Yeah.
And the other diagnoses that you have. For you, oftentimes I would think I would have it figured out, and then it would look different. And it was so. And you just said it today. Like yesterday, you were together. Today, not so much.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing an excellent job. On this conversation right here, you're holding it together. Which, I'm the first one to say, you do better on the podcast than I do. So, but yeah, it's been a difficult thing, and so it has affected you because the consistency of feeling disappointed in yourself has been something that has affected you as you turned into a man. And what I'm hopeful about is that these new treatments, for you anyway, because the things we're talking about, other people might have already experienced them, and that's fantastic. You haven't, which means we haven't. So what we're seeing is improvement.
Yeah.
We're seeing this awareness, this mindfulness that you have struggled with for, your whole life.
Yeah. And going back to how it's constantly changing how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
Our good friend Dr. Chrissy Ogilvie has this favorite saying of hers that she always says, and that is that if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism.
Correct.
Because there's so many different aspects of it. There's so many different combinations of attributes, and because everyone's different.
Right. You made me think about something. Is that down here, the weather is so bad down here in Florida. Like, it's just not so bad. It changes so much. I shouldn't say it's so bad. It can be a beautiful day, and then boom, it rains, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
So it's like
it can still be sunny. Clouds not in the sky, and it rains for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And so if somebody says, it's a beautiful day, they say, just give it 5 minutes. Or they say, it's pouring down rain, just give it 5 minutes. It just comes and goes. And it's funny you say that. Yes, she says that, she quotes that statement, and it's at the bottom of all of her emails.
Yeah.
By her name, above her name. It's just she didn't come up with the quote, but she quotes it. And what makes me think, Josh, is that one of the things that I'm talking about has been so difficult is that. So the quote is, if you met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. And when I talk about you, I would say, if I've met, if I've one day, if during a day, if I think that I've met you and your autism, just give it 5 minutes. Because it changes.
Just give it 5 minutes because Josh has autism.
What's that?
Just give it 5 minutes because Josh has autism.
Yeah, which has really been difficult throughout your life, is that to pinpoint. People ask, doctors, when I say people, doctors, therapists, psychiatrists, they're wanting to know what happens, how often it happens, what the triggers are, and it's so complicated. And that is something that's we've talked about this before as well, but it's difficult to put your finger on something that's moving.
Yeah.
So, Yeah. So anyway, going back to the things that that you've gone through and that I saw with my own eyes is that this is not these behaviors that you've dealt with, and by extension we've dealt with. They're not something that you're just playing with. It's not something that you're making up. It's not something that you are deliberately choosing to be lazy or anything of the sort.
Right.
I can see what's happening, and as you're coming out of this, recently with this medication change, I asked you this, and I don't know if it was clear, so I'm just going to ask you again. Can you pinpoint the difference in moments that you lost track versus now those moments that you are mindful?
Could you say that again?
Yeah. So before this medication change, you would lose track of what you were to do.
Yes.
And now you're mindful of what you need to do. It's in your awareness.
Yes.
How does that feel in those moments? What's the difference?
The difference is now I can't get away with stuff. No. No, it was never about getting away with stuff.
I know that. I know.
No, it's different because now, even though I may be doing something, I'm still thinking about what else I have to do. It's not,
Okay.
like I said, it's not a living in the moment anymore. It's living in the moment and thinking about the future.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And before, when you said that you had all kinds of thoughts going on, were those of the right now then? So they weren't of the things that because before you had a hard time doing anything without prompting and directing constantly.
Right.
So I couldn't ask you to do something, walk away, and expect it to be done, even though I did sometimes. And then I come back an hour later and ask you if it was done, and then you go, oh, shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so then you were in the moment.
And there were so many thoughts buzzing around in my head that I couldn't focus on any of them.
Okay. Okay, got it.
It was like white noise almost.
It's like what?
It was almost like white noise.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, see, that's different than what I thought. I thought that you were feeling something like there were there was nothing forming, nothing that was cohesive enough to follow through.
It was kind of a mixture, really.
Okay.
It was that it was so much noise in my going on in my head that I could not even remember to do things.
Okay.
And it would just get lost in the shuffle.
Okay. Well, it's amazing because, this, whatever is happening now for you in life is bringing things together for you in a way that you've never had.
Yeah. I would also like to clarify something.
Okay.
The white noise is not there so much.
Oh. So you still hear it, but not as much.
It's not so much hear it as because it's thoughts, but it's a mixture between thoughts and concentration. If that makes any sense to you.
Say it again.
It's a mixture of thoughts and concentration.
Okay.
And before the medication change, it was all just white noise. So
Mhm.
it was so many thoughts going through my head, and none of them were sticking.
Okay.
Whereas, for example, right now, I have maybe 2 or 3 stray thoughts
Mhm.
that are like almost like full conversations,
Mhm.
but I'm focusing on what's going on right now with you and me on this podcast.
Mhm. And I would say that 99% of the time, you've done really good at that. You doing the podcast, you've done an excellent job. And the thing that people don't see is that it would take so much out of you that sometimes by the end of the podcast, you would just be like, you know,
And I'm done.
letting me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done. I can't do anymore. And then you would have to go lay down.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just that overwhelming for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. This is good. This is a positive direction. And one last thing that I'm going to ask you about this is that how do you feel about yourself right now?
I feel in better spirits, so to speak.
Mhm.
I am not as depressed about myself,
Mhm.
or not depressed, but I'm not as excuse me. What is the word you used earlier? To describe how I feel about myself.
Um, I don't know what word I
Self-esteem.
used.
Self-esteem.
Self-esteem. Yeah. Right. I was going to say you're right. Critical.
Yeah, I still have somewhat low self-esteem.
Mhm.
With that said, it's mainly because of how I am right now, because of all of the crap I've gone through.
Sure.
And
So you don't.
that I'm finally working my way out of that.
Mhm.
So I am feeling better about myself.
Mhm. Good. Good. That's the best thing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a relief. What a relief.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Well, and thank you for putting words to that because, I just think that it's so important. And, I just am so happy for you and I'm happy for us. And, we'll see where this goes. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. And
All right.
oh jeez, if I'm just thinking, I was just thinking that if this podcast were to be put into legal jargon or
Yep.
whatever, doctor's jargon,
Mhm.
would crap be a technical term?
Oh crap. I don't know.
It's psychological
I suppose.
crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Become a doctor, then you can coin the phrase. Yeah. All right. Well, excellent. Excellent.
And I would like to point out one last thing before we finish up here.
Okay.
What you just did,
Mm-hmm.
become a doctor and you can do that. You've always
Mm-hmm.
been supportive of me in that regard. You've never said, no, you can't do something. You've always been supportive of what I do, and I've always tried to make my dreams come true.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
Yep.
I cannot express how much of an impact that has had on me.
Oh.
It's uncommon enough that it's worth mentioning. Well, it's worth mentioning regardless, but I mean,
Well, thank you, honey. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that, and yeah, I think I just think that you're amazing. I love you. I think you're amazing, and I think that you can accomplish anything that you want to do. And my hopes are that now that you have been gaining clarity here, that that you feel better about yourself, and everything starts going in the positive direction for you.
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
Yeah. And I love you too. That's the first time I've had a chance to say it without you keep on talking.
Oh. All right, we're done. All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us again this week. Again, like I said before, please leave us a 5-star review. Don't know what it does, but it does something. If you have any subject that you'd like for us to talk about, please send an email. We've been receiving some wonderful, amazing emails from people. And I just want to say that before we leave this podcast, got an amazing email from a couple in France. And I just want to say here and now that your email touched our hearts, and we are so grateful for you and your well-being, and for you spending time with us during the podcast. You matter to us, and it's important to us that you shared what you did. It mattered, and you matter. So thank you. Yep. Okay, everybody. This has been great, Josh. I miss you. Can't wait to see you. And everybody have a great day. Love you.
Bye.